Hello, I'm back for another pedigree exercise. This time it is gonosomal X-linked recessive disease. This is our pedigree under study. First question is to determine if the studied trait is dominant or recessive. As we said before, usually we have to take a look into two phenotypically normal parents having diseased children, as the ones we can see in the first generation having this diseased child, or in the second generation having this diseased child. Because both parents in the first generation are phenotypically normal, however their son number 2 in the second generation is affected, this means that he definitely has inherited the affected allele from at least one of the two parents, and this means that the dominant allele is the normal one, which is dominant over the recessive diseased allele. So we shall put the symbols capital N for the normal dominant allele and small d for the recessive one. Determine the localization of the gene responsible for this disease. First of all, the first clue is that we can only notice the presence of affected males. So since only males are affected, this will lead us to know that the gene responsible for the disease is gonosomal. It shall be located either on the non-homologous segment of chromosome X or on the non-homologous segment of chromosome Y. To determine that it is not, or to deny that it is not on the non-homologous segment of chromosome Y, first of all we shall take a look into an affected male having a normal father, like this case here or this case here. So this is an affected male having a normal father. For this male to be affected, his genotype, if we want to take into consideration that it is located on the non-homologous segment of Y, then we shall know that the genotype of this male is supposed to be XYD, and he must inherit the YD allele from his father, and the genotype of his father in this case is supposed to be XYD, and he obviously has to be affected, but clearly he is not. As you can see from this pedigree, he appears to be phenotypically normal, so it is not the case, which leads us to know that the gene responsible for the disease is carried by the non-homologous segment of chromosome X. Determine the risk for the first couple, number 21 and 22, to have an affected child. In this case, we know the genotype of both parents. Okay, so the genotype of the father in this case is XDY because he's affected, and we have just determined that the localization of the gene responsible for the disease is on the non-homologous segment of X, and since he has only one X chromosome, he appears to be affected, then his genotype is XDY. The genotype of his wife, the mother, number 21, is XNXD. She's obviously having the allele XN because she appears to be phenotypically normal. She obviously has the allele XD because she has affected children who definitely have inherited the XD from their mother. This proves that the genotype of this mother is XNXD. Now we shall draw the table of Crost, Punnett square. The gametes of the male are XDY, and the gametes of the female are XNXD. So the female will give the XN, the male will give the XD. So every child born have 1/4 risk to be a female with a normal phenotype and with a genotype of XNXD. 1/4 risk that the child will be a male normal with genotype XNY. Another 1/4 risk for the child to be a female affected having XD genotype, or a male who's also affected with the genotype XDY. So as you can see, 25% or 1/4 risk for the females to be normal, 1/4 risk for the males to be normal, another 1/4 risk for the females to be affected, and another 1/4 risk for the males to be affected, which leads us to know that the risk for this couple to have an affected child is 50% or 1/2. Okay? Make the necessary factorial analysis to verify the result of the offspring of the couple 1, 1 and 1, 2. So we're supposed to make the factorial analysis. We shall start by putting the phenotype. As you can see, the phenotype of both parents is clearly normal. This is why we write normal. And the genotype for both parents, we are very sure of the genotype of the parents because they appear to be normal. This proves that they have the XN allele. Regarding the father, we have determined the localization of the gene to be gonosomal, carried by the X not homologous to Y, which proves that his genotype is X and Y, since he has only one X, and he's gonna express whatever allele is carried by it. As for the female, who has two X chromosomes, obviously the first X will be normal since she's apparently phenotypically normal. However, the second X is supposed to be carrying the diseased allele because she already has an affected male who has definitely received the XD from his mother. So the gametes of the female shall be 1/2 or 50% XN and 1/2 or 50% XD. As for the male's gametes, they are 1/2 XN and 1/2 Y. We shall draw the table of cross, and we are going to reach the following genotypes. 1/4 of the offspring, the risk for the offspring to have an XN genotype, it's 1/4. Another 1/4 for the offspring to have a genotype of XN XD or XNY or XDY, which means that the possibility is 3/4 for the offspring to be normal, and every affected child, every child to be born, is going to have a risk, 3/4 risk to be normal and 1/4 risk to be affected. In case he was affected, he definitely will be a male. So there is no chance for this couple to have any affected female. The affected individuals for this couple will only be males. Thank you very much.